Welcome back everyone. Today we got a deck that's very special in my heart. Not only does it use my favorite summoning mechanic, but also use a pretty underrated type of the Yu-Gi-Oh card game. I guess you could say this deck boulders. Yeah, that sounds about right. Anyways, the Adamancipator archetype is composed of 3 tuners, 3 non-tuners, 3 synchro monsters, and a few spell and trap support cards, at least at the time of the making of this video. All of the monsters generally share an effect structure with the ones of the same type, that being the tuners, the non-tuners, and the synchro monsters respectively. Speaking of the monsters, let's finally get into those tuners. To start with the tuners, we have Analyzer, Researcher, and Seeker. Each of them have an effect in which you can special summon them from your hand. Analyzer works like Cyber Dragon, Researcher works whenever you have a rock type monster on your side of the field, and Seeker works when you control an Adamancipator monster. They all also share an effect which allows you to excavate the top 5 cards of your deck, take a level 4 or lower non-tuner rock type monster, and special summon it from your deck. Then you take the remaining cards and reorder them in any order you like and put them on the bottom of your deck. You max out on the tuners because you want to see them as soon as possible and you want to kind of daisy chain them together. For example, you want to say normal summon one of your other rocks, then you want to special summon Researcher, then you want to special summon Seeker, then you just want to go off. Now then, moving on to the non-tuners for the deck. The core non-tuners that you want to use in order to actually make most of your synchro plays will be the crystals, all of which share the attribute with their respective synchro monster. That being the green Raptide, which is wind, the red Leo, which is fire, and the blue Dragite, which is water. All of them share an effect structure that states that whenever you special summon off of the card effect of an Adamancipator card, you get to get a bonus effect. So, in the case of Raptite, you can stack a rock monster from your hand or graveyard onto the top of your deck. In the case of Crystal Leo, you get to stack an Adamancipator card, spell or trap included, onto the top of your deck. And Crystal Dragite allows you to draw 1 card. They all also share a secondary effect, which states that you can take a synchro monster of the respective attribute, send it back to the extra deck, and stack this card from your graveyard back to the top of your deck. So for example, if you have Raptite in your graveyard, along with Crystal Raptite, you can send Raptite back to the extra deck, and then you could stack Raptite onto the top of your deck. This effect is great at not only recycling your resources, but securing next turn or even same turn mills for extending your synchro combos or your Xyz plays and so on and so forth. Additionally, these aren't archetypal locked. So for example, in the case of Raptite, you can actually send Crystal Wing from your graveyard or field back to the extra deck in order to put itself on the top of the deck. So at the same time, you could recycle certain other things. Both of these effects, of course, across all the rocks are once per turn. Moving on to the corresponding synchro lineup, we're playing 1 Raptite, 1 Leonite, and 1 Dragite. Once again, these cards share an effect structure, and Raptite allows you to special summon a rock monster excavated. Leonite allows you to add an Adamancipator card from your deck to your hand. That was excavated, of course. And Dragite lets you bounce back to your opponent's hands a number of cards equal to the number of rock monsters revealed when you excavate 5 cards from the top of your deck. And just like the tuners, after you finish excavating the cards, you use the remaining cards, stack them any way you like, and put them on the bottom of your deck. In addition to those effects, however, the synchros each have another unique effect that is a quick effect that requires you to have a corresponding attribute monster of the same type in the graveyard in order to activate them. So if you have a wind type monster in your graveyard while you have Raptite on your opponent's turn, you can quick effect banish a monster in their graveyard. Leonite can quick effect special summon a rock type monster from your graveyard as long as you have a fire type in your graveyard, and Dragite can negate spell or trap cards that your opponent activates as long as you have a water type monster in your graveyard. So my general process with these cards and the summoning of them within a game depends on, well, my hand, what I've excavated so far, how lucky I'm feeling, or if I've used Adamantia signs or something like that to stack the deck. But beyond that, it's kind of subjective, but my overall kind of flow sheet recommendation, if you would like one, is first use Raptite, then I just usually make Leo just for the sole purpose of, oh, I've dug, say, 15 cards into my deck, I've only seen 1 to 0 signs, okay, I have a decent chance of hitting it when I make Leo at this point in the game. Then ladder into Dragite as kind of your last boss monster, or if you don't feel like Dragite, you need another type of negate, you got Crystal Wing, or you got Borreload Savage Dragon, which we'll get into later. Additionally, the other thing is, Dragite is your board breaker, of course. So if you're going second, your opponent made a board, you want to turbo a Dragite, which is why Analyzer has that nice dandy Cyber Dragon effect, and then you want to just try to bounce back your opponent's stuff. We also only run one of each of them since they can be recycled using the crystals effect. For the sake of keeping all the archetypal cards confined to one segment of the video, we have Adamancipator Signs. It's a normal spell that states you can special summon one rock-type monster from your graveyard, and if it's an Adamancipator monster, you can take one level 4 lower rock-type monster and put it onto the top of your deck. I don't think much needs to be said about this card, honestly. It allows you to revive any of your archetypal cards and your non-archetypal rock-type monsters in case you need something for, say, an awkward level for Naturia Beast or something. And it allows you to stack your deck in order to make sure that if you bring, say, one of the tuners back, you could automatically be guaranteed to hit one of your rock-type monsters. It is easily one of the best cards in the deck. And just to quickly bring it up, because this will be featured in a few of the replays, Adamancipator Laputite is an excellent card as it not only allows you to increase your OTK potential with the 500 boost to all your rock type monsters, but also lets you guarantee all your hits for your tuners or your synchros by letting you stack up to 5 cards onto the top of your deck. It, however, has been cut from my more recent version of the deck, only in the matter that I traded the consistency of it for a little more power. So the choice is yours. You could run 3 and a terraforming if you really want that consistency, but I chose to cut it for now. For our generic rock support monsters, we have 3 Doki Doki, which lets you discard one rock type monster from your hand, special summon a rock type monster from your deck that has the same original attribute and level as said discarded monster, in either face up attack or face down defense position. You can only do this once per turn, of course. We run this as a way to set up not only our graveyard, but also grab any cards we may need directly out of our deck. So, for example, if you open 2 Doki Doki, you could actually normal summon the one, use its effect, discard your other Doki Doki, and then you could special summon either of the level 2 Adamancipator tuners. Also, this is why we run at least 2 of every rock in the deck, just that way it's alive for Doki Doki in the event we need it. 3 Kawakimaru Guardian, which is actually mainly here as our ideal normal summon, because you normal summon this, then you can just go off because you no longer have to really worry about hand traps. Think of it almost in the same way you think of, say, Jackal King and Pendulum Magicians. It's a way to just ensure that you don't get Nibiru'd, you don't get Ash Blossom at an inconvenient time, so on and so forth. And to tie back into Doki Doki that we just talked about, it's a level 4 Earth type, so you can discard it in order to bring out Analyzer if you need to. We played 2 Gigantes. It acts as an extender that we can easily special summon from our hand, uses material mainly for link summoning or for a rank 4 if we need to, and it can also be used as an easy material for Naturia Beast. I find 2 to be perfect as 3 tends to be bricky and 1 is too sacky. We have 2 Sentry Soldier of Stone, which allows you to special summon itself from your graveyard so long as all the monsters you currently control are only rock type monsters. This is yet another extender, however one with a little more niche of a use. While you can use it for traditional link material, you could also use it to make Naturia Beast extremely easily with any of the level 2 Adamancipator tuners. We play 1 Block Dragon as we don't want to brick by drawing it too much, however it is an invaluable extender in this deck. You can special summon it from your hand or your graveyard by banishing 3 Earth type monsters, and when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can search out rock type monsters with a total level equaling 8. So, easy example, that's 1 Gigantes and 2 of the Adamancipator level 2 tuners. I'll get into a little more of the application once we get into the extra deck because a lot of that actually revolves around this guy, so stay tuned for that. 1 Nibiru, basically just it's here because it's a rock type and we can search it extremely easily. Great in times when you can't make a complete board or your board is kind of unsatisfactory, you could just kind of search it, that way you keep your opponent on the back foot for a little longer. And to polish off the monster lineup, we have one recover. This is here as another tuner, mainly to be summoned off Halki Fibrax in order to go into Nat Beast extremely easily. Additionally, it has a self-revive effect and it's an earth tuner, so that's basically why it's here. Now, to quickly cover our spell lineup, we have 3 Pot of Desires, 3 Called by the Grave, 1 Foolish Burial, and 1 Upstart Goblin. Desires and Upstart improve consistency, plus in the case of Upstart Goblin, you could actually stack a card onto the top of your deck, then you could use Upstart to draw said card, especially if you run Laputite. The Called by the Graves are here in order to make you resilient against hand traps in the event you don't open Quakimaru Guardian, and the 1 Foolish Burial is to dump usually Sentry Soldier or Block Dragon, since it can revive itself. However, it could also be used to, say, set up your graveyard, that way your Adamantia Signs is live and you could revive, say, one of the tuners, stack your deck, and then just go off from there. Just with Desires, be sure to make sure your Block Dragon is safe either at the bottom of your deck or in your hand or graveyard before you activate it. Since I've already covered the Adamancipator synchros earlier, I won't need to reiterate about them again, but... So just a quick go through the extra deck. Everything's pretty standard. Your Borreload Savage, your Crystal Wing, Nappies. Herald of the Arclight's a bit of an oddball, I guess, in that regard. You make it using Doki Doki and any of the level 2 tuners, and it just works really well because it's effectively a dimensional fissure for anything going from your opponent's hand or deck to the graveyard. But it's also a negate on top of that. Formula Synchron is also our Synchro tuner of choice for Halki Fibrax. The Xyz equally are pretty self-explanatory. We're running 1 Gallant Granite because it can search out rock monsters, 1 Abyss Dweller because a floodgate like that against graveyard-centric decks is an absolute blowout, and finally Castel, which is basically designated as our Mega Clops out. Finally, for our Link Monster lineup, we're playing 1 Crystron Halki Fibrax, 1 Union Carrier, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, and 1 Apollosa Bow of the Goddess. Halki Fibrax is used here for link climbing and in order to fetch us one of our tuners, usually recover, in order to make Naturia Beast nice and easily. However, it can also be used to get one of the Adamancipator tuners, being the level 2 ones at least. Just that way we could get them into the graveyard, summon them back with Adamancipator Signs. Nightmare Phoenix is here thanks to its ability to pop spell and trap cards in a pinch if we need to, and Apollosa Bow of the Goddess is one of the best monster negators in the game right now. It's super easy to access, and when we usually search out Block Dragon, we use it to go into this. Now then, on to our last card. As you can see, it's Union Carrier, and Union Carrier seems like a bit of an odd choice if you're not running something that could, say, get the Buster Whelp equipped in order to lock your opponent out of the extra deck. Well, we have another reason we run it. What we do is, we make Union Carrier, target one of our Rock-type monsters, and equip Block Dragon to it, use that monster for a Link or Synchro summon, then suddenly Block Dragon goes to the graveyard, and we get our searches. So the only downside with Union Carrier is of course the fact that it can't be used to link summon, so we can't climb up into Apollosa super easily. However, this card is just an amazing piece of utility, especially in a situation where we can't get a granite up to search out our Block Dragon. You definitely need to run one of these, in my opinion. Anyways, here's some recommendations for the extra deck. Nothing too special here, but a lot of really good cards that we just don't have the room to play right now. Also, yes, that is Utopia Beyond, because you could make it out of 2 of the level 6 synchros and absolutely T-pose on a Mega Clops player. Anyways, here's a few quick replays for now that I'll commentate over. However, I think I'm gonna make a part 2 and feature a lot more replays, because I got like a ton of replays, because this deck is just so interesting and so cool to show off. I just absolutely need to show you guys more.
Prepare yourself for an epic journey as dual monsters travel through all 5 dimensions.
Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds.
Bodies in motion. Infinite danger. Can you go the distance? The time is now to enter the 5th dimension.
Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds.
All new next Saturday morning at 10:30 on the CW for Kids.
The CW for Kids. Sign on.
So in this first replay, I opened Doki Doki Signs and an Adamancipator monster, so I'm able to discard said Adamancipator monster to get another copy of itself, use Signs, set up my top deck, and then I'm able to just basically go off from there. Since I opened Block Dragon, I decided to still make Gallant in order to search out Seeker in order to further extend my plays. Unfortunately, I whiff with Seeker, but I'm still able to get my Apollousa, Dragite, and Herald of the Arclight up. This forces him to have an extremely mediocre turn, and in my following turn, I'm able to go for the OTK. Here, we're going second against, I think, a Greninja player, and he starts off, he hits the Necro face, and ends up on a really weak board. So, the plan here is pretty simple. We're going to OTK him. So we start with Kwakimaru Guardian in order to guarantee our plays will go through. Then I'm able to special summon Researcher with its own effect. And since Adamancipator Laputite has a soft once per turn, I'm basically able to guarantee 2 stacks thanks to the fact that I opened a pair of them. Plus, having Adamancipator signs in my hand makes sure that I'm able to guarantee yet another stack on top of that. Using the Red Rock special summon from Seeker's effect, I'm able to stack my signs back on top of my deck, make Leonite, and I'm able to get my signs back. Then I'm able to go for Dragite, bounce all the stuff back, and go for the OTK. Thanks to opening Foolish Burial here, I'm able to dump my Sentry Soldier of Stone, and then I'm able to subsequently bring it back via its own special effect after I normal summon Analyzer. I stack Blue Rock on top of my deck via Laputite, special summon it, get my draw off, and then I go for the Union Carrier play because I just want to show it off. So here I use Union Carrier, attach Block Dragon to my tuner, then I Synchro summon Nat Beast, Block Dragon goes off, and then I'm able to get my searches. I special summon Seeker via its own effect, I stack the deck using signs, and then I'm able to just continue to special summon. I choose to grab Doki Doki because I currently have the green rock in my hand, so I'm able to discard that, get a green rock out anyways, synchro up into Raptite. I use Raptite's effect hoping to hit any of my tuners at this point, especially the level 2 ones though. Fortunately, I managed to hit a Seeker. This allows me to end on Crystal Wing and Herald of the Arclight, meaning that while I didn't end with the most negates I could have on field, I ended off pretty strongly and with a decent Floodgate to boot. I choose to negate his Levier's effect just because I don't want him to get any sense of recovery off, and he's forced to go into battle phase, destroy my Herald, and end with an extremely fragile board. Starting off the turn, I use Green Rock's effect in order to shuffle Raptite back into my extra deck and put it on top of my deck in order to guarantee my next excavation. I then use the Green Egg's ability to put another rock from my graveyard onto the top of my deck, and we're able to basically win from here. And to close this all out, I'm up against a Salmandrake player that went first. He set up a board. I'm not sure what that face down is, so I decided to just use Analyzer and turbo out Dragite. That way I could bounce everything and force a Solemn or something along those lines. And subsequently, I'm just able to build the OTK. And that makes him scoop. Thank you once again for making it all the way through this video. This one took a long time to make, but honestly, I'm extremely happy with it. I just absolutely love this deck. Anyways, I'll see you guys later, and just remember, take care of yourself and wash your hands.